explain it again, how it works when the government initiates legal action, how that is funded again, like the
It's a bit of internal mechanics,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
So if there's an issue and it's in a particular ministry, I hesitate to pick I won't pick a particular ministry, but let's say any other ministry. The way that the Attorney General's office is set up is we have lawyers in each ministry providing service. And so they may not be litigators per se, but they may be subject matter experts in any given area. So they're still part of the Attorney General's office, even though they're embedded in other departments. If we're into litigation, we will of course work with them, who may be subject matter experts, and we have, quite frankly, for one, the best constitutional lawyers in the country. We do. We have the best department. We're the biggest law firm in the country. We're bigger than the federal government because we do so many prosecutions and whatnot. So we have it attracts excellence. And we have some really, really good civil litigators. Absolute top notch. And what happens is the litigators will pick up the file. They'll work with the experts in the other department and whatever other experts they need as they go. But we'll do a chargeback to that department, so that it's not a free legal system, but it, quite frankly, it's not even really market rate, but it's something to show that who's doing the work and the accountability for it. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I have no doubt that you have some of the best lawyers in the country. That doesn't reflect very well that you must have some of the, and not the Ministry of the Attorney General, but you have lost quite a few constitutional cases. So some of the legislation that you're putting forward is probably not the best constitutionally based. But so, for instance, like the carbon pricing one went all the way to the Supreme Court. So is there a record not of each cost, but of the total chargeback to whatever ministry or whatever office initiated that?
So I'll start with sort of a 30,000 foot level. If things were simple, if things were obvious and things were of no dispute, quite frankly, the people of Ontario wouldn't need any of us here, right? So it's finding those spaces to develop policy and then they sometimes get tested through the court system, which is the way it's supposed to be. And that's the way it's always been. So there's nothing extraordinary about necessarily losing a case or whatnot. You've gone in with your best effort, and sometimes that's the way it works out. It's the same with companies, same with people, same with all that stuff. So, but in terms of the chargeback between, it's really more of an internal mechanism. It's not really reflective of the effort, if I can put it that way. So that number wouldn't mean anything.
There's no overall, so let's say whoever initiated the carbon price challenge on the federal government, there's no overall tally of, as this went through the various courts of the country, overall tally, this has cost the people of Ontario X.
I'm not sure, and again, we're going to follow up along with the earlier questions.
I appreciate that. I'm just trying to get this through my head.
I'm not sure if that's privileged or not, whether that's something that we would be able to disclose.
Okay,
I don't know.
no, because there comes a point, and I'm just using the carbon pricing one as an example, but there comes a point where the value of challenging something is costing the people more than the value of the challenge, and that's so. And I'm just trying to get this through my head, how this, because even if there's a chargeback, at some point there must be a total tally, and if that's privileged, that's privileged. I'm not that's. And I also agree and I'm fairly agreeable. I agree that there should be challenge, like, that's why we have courts, if everything, and why we have this committee, and why we have, if we didn't have anything to change or solve, we wouldn't have a job. But there is a pattern from this government to make a lot of court challenges and losing a fair bit of them, including with this government had to rescinded a law like that could have been taken to court. And we're looking somehow for a cost benefit analysis of at some point what benefits the people and what benefits what is more political ideology. And the carbon tax is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and you're not the Minister of Energy, so I'm not, but the only reason we have a carbon tax in Ontario is because the Ford government decided not to implement their own regimen, and we fell back to the federal scheme. And the government of Ontario decided to challenge the federal scheme instead of putting forward their own regimen. I was waiting for that.
I just don't see how it relates to estimates on Attorney General Ministry. Sorry.
And I will bring it back. Okay.
Thank you.
And where I started was, and I'm going to turn it over to one of my colleagues. So my colleagues better get ready. But that at some point, and I recognize the privilege, but I don't think anyone here would disagree that at some point there should be some kind of, if we're serious about the process of estimates, there should be some kind of tally on how much and any government, I'm not trying to, but any government decides to challenge something, there should be a tally at the end of the day, how much that challenge actually costs the people of Ontario.